Landon Donovan on the Voice of St. Louis. The Guardian called him the greatest American male soccer player of all time. And is it kind of weird that the Women's Cup team had two players from St. Louis, Becky Sauerbrunn and Lori Kolupny, and they both played for the same team, JB Marine? That's kind of weird.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. Now, tell us something about off the field. You're kind of a guy who pioneered yoga, Pilates, and soccer, right? I mean, you started it, and then other people said, hey...
Well, I don't know if I started those, but...
No, I understand that. You're not from ancient India, but you were doing this before a lot of top athletes.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be introduced to some of these things, and I think for athletes, a lot of times we get locked into the sort of macho training methods where you're lifting weights and doing all these things. But the reality on a soccer field is that the more agile you are, the more, in any sport really, any total body strength you have, the better you are. So Pilates was great for me. Yoga is great for me because it worked on all the other things that I didn't work on the soccer field, all the other muscles, so that your whole body was strong, and it benefited me a lot.
Now, you've also been pretty open that you've been battling depression these past couple of years, and that you think that sports should be more open about mental illness.
I think that society should be more open about mental illness. I think most people in life have moments where they feel something's off, or they feel down, or they feel depressed, and they're not sure what exactly is going on. So I don't understand, honestly, why it's so taboo to talk about. For me, it's a very simple thing to talk about, that I've had struggles with that. And I think a lot of athletes deal with that. I think a lot of celebrities, but I also think everyday people in their everyday life deal with it. So it's important to talk about.
Doesn't the exercise help you quite a bit in that area?
It does. I've learned a lot, and again, I have a long-winded answer that we could get into one day, but it's important to me that people understand that it's okay to reach out and ask for help if they're feeling that way.
I think it's important that you share that, because it opens up a door for a lot of people in our listening audience who might otherwise have closed that door, don't you think? Yeah. So much has been written about your relationship with the U.S. men's national team coach. How are you guys doing right now?
Well, I don't speak to him or hang out with him. We're not going to have a Budweiser later.
Other than that, it's great.
No, it's fine. Listen, in life, sometimes you come across people that you disagree with on things. And obviously for me, I have given my life to this sport and this country. And so when you have a moment where someone takes something away from you that's so special to you, it hurts. So there's no question that was difficult in the time, but I'm also aware enough and wise enough to know that everybody makes decisions that they think are best. It didn't feel personal in retrospect. It's a decision that coaches have to make, and you have to live with it as an athlete, even if it hurts at the time.
It's very interesting, and everybody in life has highs and lows. 2006 was probably a tough year for you with the World Cup, and you say that, kind of like Dickens, it was the best of times and the worst of times. A low moment, but maybe the best thing that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I have probably 4 or 5 times in my life had the lowest moments of my life up until that point. But when you can learn from it and get better from it, then it ends up being the best thing that happened. Because especially as an athlete, we have this tendency, understandably, to grow these big egos and think we're great. You walk out and the crowd's clapping for you because you're able to kick a soccer ball better than most people. But the reality is that we go through highs and lows just like everyone else does. And I've been fortunate enough to learn from my tough experiences and get better from it. So there's no easy way in life. Everybody has difficulties, but if you can grow and get better from them, then that's good.
Did you kind of think that some fans, obviously not ones here today, turned on you after 2006? There's a fickle nature to sports fans sometimes,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, but I get it, because I watch sports and I'm the same way, right? So if a player starts deteriorating, I'm like, oh, they should get rid of him and they should bring in someone new. But then I take a step back and realize there's a human element too, and people forget that. So if somebody here loses their job or doesn't get promoted, 5 of your friends know about it in your family. When one of us gets cut from a World Cup team, millions of people know about it, and you're asked about it constantly. People want to know how you feel about it. It's a little more difficult.
This is Landon Donovan, and we're going to take questions from the audience in just a moment. We've got the microphone and about 3 to 4 minutes. So if you have a question, raise your hand, and Chris Myhill, our executive producer, will be over there. We recently had Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind, and Fire on the program. After a long disconnect, he got together with his dad again for the first time in like 40 years. His dad lives in Kansas City, so they had a pretty good reunion. You kind of did the same thing with your dad. Would you who kind of left the family when you were about 2 years old? Would you recommend people do that, what you did?
Well, everybody's situation is different. Mine was more complicated than it wasn't black and white, but what I was able to do through a lot of therapy was to understand my faults, be aware of my feelings and what I was going through, and had the ability to reconnect with my dad after a long time being apart. So I was fortunate, but again, everyone's got their own situation, but I think life's too short to not value relationships that matter, and so that was an important thing to me.
Landon Donovan with us. How about a question from the audience?
I remember watching that game in the 2010 World Cup against Algeria and freaking out when you scored that goal. Can you just describe that moment, not just like in the moment, but then after like coming back and realizing how that touched so many people and inspired people like that?
Well, there was 2 parts of it. One is in the moment. That's my job. My job's to be in front of the goal, making a play. I mean, I was in the moment, just living the game. And then being excited with your teammates after we advanced, all that. But the crazier thing was getting on our phones, on the internet, and seeing what had happened back home, because we had no idea. We were kind of insulated in this little town in South Africa. You have no idea what's going on back in America. So thankfully the advent of the internet and things like that made us realize just how cool that was. And to this day, people come up, and I just signed a ticket from that game. It's really cool.
One of the most iconic scores in the history of men's soccer against Algeria, 2010, right?
Yeah, Landon, which MLS team would you like to coach this coming year?
Well, maybe if they got a team in St. Louis.
4 more years. 4 more years.
This summer here in St. Louis, we're actually lucky to get the addition of St. Louis FC in the USL, which was very exciting for us. How important do you think, in addition to the growth of MLS in this country, is the growth of the lower leagues of USL and the NSL for the growth of soccer in America?
I think it's vital, and I think it's now started. I mean, I follow the USL more closely than you would probably think, and I think it's crucial. I think they need to continue to push, and it's what it's doing is it's giving players who don't immediately have a chance to be a part of an MLS team a chance to develop, because people develop at different ages. Some guys develop from 25 on, they get much, much better, and it's giving those people a chance. And then for local communities and supporters, it's fantastic. You guys love soccer. I can tell when I walk through the city, this is a soccer town, and now you have a team you can support. Obviously you want an MLS team, but in the interim, it's not a bad second prize, right?
Hey, do you want to read the weather forecast for us?
Sure.
All right.
It's going to be plenty of sunshine, breezy and cool, high of 57. Tonight, 31 to 37, so wear your coats.
That weather forecast from the greatest soccer player out of America.
I got a future, I think.
Landon Donovan. Good luck. Thanks a lot for joining us on KMOX.
Thank you, guys.
What a great morning.